Off the field, Javy Baez is now on the IL, and on the field, some very, very sloppy baseball. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. The Detroit Tigers on Tuesday night lost to the Washington Nationals by a score of 5-4 in a game that went into extra innings. A ridiculous baseball game, truly. I kind of from start to finish, but really from like the fifth inning to the end, what was absolutely absurd. But honestly, like we'll talk about Kenta Maeda in a second. Kind of from start to finish, just really wild, a lot of roller coaster of emotions. I have no idea how this team was even in a position to win this game in the eighth inning. Genuinely. Like this, had they had one, it may have been the first time ever that in a win, what went wrong was longer than what went right. That was like the trajectory of this show and this ball game. But no worries, the Tigers blew it. So no worries. That we're not gonna set any records today. So what did go wrong for the Detroit Tigers in this one? They're now 32-34 on the season. If I didn't say that, I can't remember. Let's start with Kenta Maeda, who's the starting pitcher in this game. 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts. He just had no idea where the ball was going. Like this was actually the best spin and velocity that he has had all season. And I think that there's a direct correlation between that and the 5 strikeouts. The thing is, it's really easy to keep hitters off balance when you don't even know where the ball is going, right? Like when the pitcher, if you're on the mound, right? If you don't even know, that's like effectively wild sometimes. Like if you don't even know where the ball is going, then it's pretty easy to keep the hitter guessing and keep them on their toes. And I think that was kind of what happened in this ball game. He had like 75 pitches through like 3 innings or something. I mean, it was one of the least efficient outings you will see out of a starting pitcher. I mean, he walked in a run at one point, and it wasn't even close. That pitch that did walk in the run wasn't even a competitive pitch. Just in general, not a very good outing. Now, he ends with only the 1 run against. He leaves the game, and in his final inning, I actually thought that was the best he had looked, right? He sat him down. I think it was a 1-2-3 inning. So pretty effective there. But look, man, I mean, this dude, his ERA on the season is now 5.89. And he's going 4 or 5 innings a start. And going into the season, we had talked about on here how he wasn't a very efficient pitcher. Like he wasn't going to go super deep into ball games very often. But you can't have an ERA of almost 6 and be inefficient. And again, like this game at the end of the day, only 1 run to his name, to be fair and straightforward. But I don't think anyone watched this start and was like, oh, I'm a lot more confident about Kenta Maeda's next outing, right? I mean, this was just consistently out of the strike zone. When he missed in the zone, it was over the heart of the plate, but mostly he was just missing out of the zone, which I guess I kind of say this all the time. If I have a preference of whether you're missing in the zone or out of the zone, I guess I prefer out of the zone. I'd rather at the major league level, at least, right? Maybe in the minors, I'd rather over the heart of the plate so you're not walking people. But at the major league level, I'd rather you walk people than just constantly give up hanging, splitters and 90-mile-an-hour fastballs down the middle. I guess. I don't know. This was not a very good outing from Kenta Maeda, despite the fact that he leaves with only one earned run against. That one inning specifically was absolutely brutal. They said they didn't want to overwork him after the injury, so he only goes 4 innings. Then Brisky comes out, and yeah, like he was missing his spots with his changeup, and that ball that CJ Abrams, yanked down the first base side was a changeup that was supposed to be low and away. The setup was low and away. The call was low and away. And that's that is a good pitch when executed. Abrams a lefty, Brisky a righty, changeup low and away to lefty. Really good changeup that Bo Brisky has. All of that is great, and it wasn't executed. And he threw it low and inside, and that is right where CJ Abrams really likes the baseball. Is inside. Most lefties do. Low and in is a no-no spot for pitchers, especially right-handed pitchers, when throwing to left-handed hitters. And it didn't go low enough either. Just, that on top of missing his spot in going inside instead of outside, turned and burned. And that is one of the side effects of not having a slider. Now, in that specific instance, you probably are gonna pester Abrams again, who is hitting lefty there. You're probably gonna pester him with changeups low and away as is. You're probably not going to throw him too many sliders there, but in general, he wasn't hitting with his changeup all outing, and I think that was because, or that not because, but that is a bad outings can get really bad really quickly for Brisky because he doesn't have the bailout of a good breaking ball. It's just all fastball changeup. It's all vertical movement. So I think that there is a role for him in this bullpen long term. I think there's plenty of pitchers out there that are really solid with that kind of vertical setup. But I do think that for him to take the next step, I've said this a million times, but it's going to require him to develop some sort of major league caliber horizontal pitch. The offense was dreadful in this ball game. And look, man, like they scored 4 runs. They scored 4 runs on one swing, and it was a little league grand slam. Right now, that's the difference between 3 runs and 4 runs, which at the end of the day, they lost anyways. So like, who even cares really at that point? But like the little league home runness, to give credit to Riley Greene, right? That was only the difference between 3 and 4, not like 0 and 4. But regardless, all of the runs that the Detroit Tigers scored in this ball game came on that swing. They went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. That was the only hit they had with RISP the entire game. They had the Manfred runner in the 10th. He didn't even get to 3rd. You had a chance to win it in the 9th. Blew that as well. You had an instance earlier as well where after Justin Henry Malloy's walk, you had first and second no outs. Look, man, like we can go down the lineup. If you want to go down the lineup card, let's do that. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our new friends over at Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Tigers, we pride ourselves in getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have a complicated matter that requires tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help filing correctly, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/ Locked On. See the link in the episode description below. Also got to tell you all about our friends over at Prize Picks. With Prize Picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats projections, and you are locked in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has you covered every week as well, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which obviously increases your chance of getting a win, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. So you can get in on all the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. Like I said, I always like looking at starting pitchers because strikeouts more or less on starters is just such a fun stat to watch and root for and keep track of. But it's also the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals. There are so many fun players to get in on the action on. So do not miss out and download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will be back tomorrow talking about Game 2 against the Nationals, as well as any other news surrounding the Tigers organization. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, the free 24/7 streaming channel program for you to give you all the biggest news in sports from all of our great hosts here at Locked On. Again, streaming 24/7 on YouTube. You can subscribe today, Locked On Sports Today, or check it out for free in the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Talking about what went wrong in this 5-4 loss to the Washington Nationals on Tuesday night. We're going to go through the lineup here. I've decided. So Matt Vierling, 772 OPS, has been struggling mightily for the last probably week-ish. Only has a couple of hits over the last week. Andy Ibanez down to a 641 OPS, got up to a hot start, has cooled off. Colt Keith, 545 OPS, has been back to being dreadful in the month of June. Mark Canha down to a 718 OPS, has been way less than what he was in the month of April ever since they got out of April. Riley Greene, a 793 OPS, is your best healthy hitter at the moment, and also had a rough May and has been better at times in June and struggling in times at June. Gio Urshela, I had somebody reply on Twitter and say, is Gio Urshela just Harold Castro? Yes, that is a perfect comp offensively. Defensively, a lot of different players. But offensively, like, he's hitting 280 with a 670 OPS. Like, that is, yes, that is exactly what Harold Castro was. Justin Henry Malloy has been up for a week, 636 OPS, but again, has, 6 games of baseball under his belt. We're going to take a little bit of time on him. Winfield Perez down to a 712 OPS, has cooled down significantly. Jake Rogers, a 671 OPS, but actually the opposite of everybody here, has been hitting significantly better since the middle of May. And then Ryan Kreidler, we'll talk about later. Zach McKinstry, 570 OPS. Which one of those guys had a glowing review? Right? And I'm just talking from a pure vibes. Just go old school with me, okay? Throw the numbers out the window. Some people say I'm too analytical sometimes. This is for you, all right? Just throw it out the window. Throw it in the trash. Don't even care about numbers. Which one of these guys, when they step in the batter's box, are you like, you know what? I think something really good might happen right now. Is there a single one? And I know, again, I know that this is not a very analytical approach and whatnot. But genuinely, is there anybody on this team right now on June 12th that when they step in the batter's box, you feel like a lot of optimism, or like if they're up in a clutch crunch time situation, if they're up, let's make it even more specific with that. If anybody in this lineup is up with a man on second, is there anybody that you're like, you know what, this guy's scoring? I think the answer might be no. And that is just unbelievable after 7 rebuilding seasons, isn't it? Oh my god, is it 8? however many. I don't even want to think about it. Colt Keith came up in a pinch hit situation. They talked about it on the broadcast. He doesn't have a single hit this year on a ball that's thrown over 97 miles an hour. This is the major leagues. If you can't hit velocity, you're not going to last. So that's something that he still needs to adjust on. He only has one or two hits in the entire month of June. Has reverted back and has been struggling a lot. I think people are realizing that they can just kind of pound him with velo, and he's not going to do a whole lot. So that is an adjustment he has to make. And despite all of that, despite everything that I just said, all of the complaining I just did, they were in the driver's seat about to win this game going into the 8th inning. But the defense blew the lead. Now, notice my wording there. I didn't say that the defense cost them the game because everything was bad. The pitching outside of Tyler Holton was not that great. The offense we just talked about, not awesome outside of one swing. But the defense blew the lead. Riley Greene punts a baseball in left field like he's playing hacky sack, gives up an extra 90 feet. Ryan Kreidler can't field a ground ball. Like Shelby Miller got a fly ball and a ground out, and still gave up a run because the defense behind him and Tyler Holton looked like a little league team. And then in extras, Jake Rogers goes to pick a slider out of the dirt on a backhand for Lord knows what reason. The ball bounces away. You give up another 90 feet. And then you lose the lead. That 10th inning was catastrophic. That was the definition of pathetic and embarrassing. Your catcher makes a mistake to cost you a run, but you still have the Manfred runner and 3, 4, 5 due up in the lineup. You can't even get the runner to third base. 2 of those 3 guys strike out. We'll talk about the bunt thing in a second, right? Because I think that's obviously worth and garners a conversation. Even if he did bunt, the next 2 guys struck out. One on looked at a fastball, stood there like a house on the side of the road, and the other one swung through a fastball down the middle. You couldn't have placed the ball down the middle any more than that pitch was down the middle. Those were the 2 strikeouts from your 4 and 5 hitters, one of which had a 3-hit game, and the other drove in every single one of your runs. Okay, let's talk about what went right, because it's a super short list, to be honest with you. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships and also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to take home that big win and make your car the MVP. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every day. Talking about what went right in this ball game. Tyler Holton, pretty much it. I'm going to be honest with you. This might, let's talk about Holton. 2 1/3, 1 hit, 1 run. It wasn't earned. And so 0 earned runs on the day, no walks, 2 strikeouts. I thought he was sensational. I'm not kidding. If they won, I was going to take like a whole segment on it, because I genuinely, if they would have won that ball game, it would have been almost entirely due to Tyler Holton. That was a Herculean effort that they just absolutely pissed away. And that is unbelievably frustrating. Not that that's new. They've been doing that with pitching performances all season. Okay. But this was fantastic. His command was pinpoint, right? His slider cutter thing he's got going on, what was just painting the outside corner to righties and lefties. He was mowing down righties and lefties. He was uber efficient, right? Had a super low pitch count, but it wasn't just, oh, like he's just lucky, right? Like hard hit balls, but they're going right to people. No, it was a lot of soft contact. It was a lot of pounding the strike zone, but painting all of the shadow parts of the strike zone, the edges, right? I thought he was stellar. And if they would have won the game, he would have absolutely have been the MVP of this one. And he would have been the reason they did win, because he went 2 1/3. The starter couldn't throw a strike and went 4 innings. And Tyler Holton came to the rescue and almost threw 3 innings if the defense wasn't a joke behind him. He was fantastic. All of his sequencing, great. Jake Rogers called a great game, keeping hitters off balance, all outing. He was stellar. And like, legitimately, was that it? Like, was that the end of what went right in this ballgame? You had, again, one swing from Riley Greene. I'm not even trying to be like super negative Nelly or anything, but like, was that it that went right? I mean, what else? Mark Canha's steal. He didn't score, so like, awesome. But like, I guess the steal was cool. Gio Urshela went 3 for 5. That's good, but that also a stipulation. Like, everything that's happened that went right was like, yeah, but this also happened and kind of ruined it. Like, Gio Urshela went 3 for 5. He also struck out with the game on the line in the 10th inning. Like, Tyler Holton is like it. Which, again, is like staggering that they were in a position to win in the last 2 innings ended up being 3 innings because it went into extras, but the last 2 innings of regulation, if you will. Let's talk stuff. We have to have the bunt conversation because every single time the game goes into extras and the Tigers lose, I get 50 million comments about if they should have bunted there. I mean, look, dog, I'm not a huge bunt person, which upsets some people. That's fine. This is why I love baseball, because you can view the game in a million different ways and there's a million different ways to win. Okay. I don't look down on people that have different strategic viewpoints like that. That's perfectly fine. In this instance, as I said earlier, Riley Greene had scored all your runs and is your best hitter. You're not taking the bat out of his hands. Gio Urshela is 3 for 5. He's the only person that has really consistently done anything in this ball game. You're not taking the bat out of his hands. Obviously, he came up with 2 outs. You weren't going to bunt in that situation anyway. And Mark Canha, I guess there's an argument he bunts, right? I mean, that's the lead off the inning. That would be the player that you would bunt with. But again, I know, like, hindsight's 2020. I'm not trying to be like, oh, well, like, they struck out, so like it would have been completely pointless. I guess I did say that earlier, but it's just like that. It's your 3, 4, 5, right? If Ryan Kreidler was due up and they didn't bunt with him, I would have lost my marbles on here. In this specific situation, you're trying to drive the runner in, and that involves not taking the bat out of your best hitter's hands. And I guess there's an argument that Mark Canha hasn't been one of your best hitters lately. But in principle, when your 3, 4, 5 comes up, you don't want to take the bat out of those guys' hands. And this leads me to the flip side of the conversation, which is the devil's advocate to people that are anti-bunt there, right? To play both sides of an argument and talk to myself here, which I guess is just my job. But like, the flip side of that is this offense is so bad that the 3 hitter is a 718 OPS hitter. This offense is so brutal that like there is a legitimate argument, and I saw a lot of people talking about it online after the ball game. I know Castellani talked about it as well. Like, is there an argument that the Tigers should just, anytime they go into extras, should just bunt no matter who is up? Like, when Kerry Carpenter comes back, you're not going to bunt with him. Riley Greene, you're never going to get AJ Hinch to bunt with Riley Greene. But like, is that what this has come to? Genuinely, is that what what this offense has come to. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm asking. It's a question. Please let me know what your everybody's opinion. Like, genuinely, is that what we have come to now, where every single extra innings we should just go like, you know what? Let's just and look, maybe if the game is tied there, they do bunt with Canha. But you can't just like chase your problems forever, right? That's what my therapist tells me, at least. Like, you can't just bunt and play for the tie for 4 innings in a row and never go for the win. So like there's so many different angles to this, and the overarching theme of the entire thing that just pounds my head like a migraine is the offense might just be not good enough to justify ever not at least heavily considering bunting and extras. Again, Kerry Carpenter should never bunt. I don't agree with taking the bat out of his hands, but he's hurt. And I don't think you're ever going to get management and coaching to bunt with Riley Greene for a similar reason, even though his numbers are obviously not as good as Kerry Carpenter's. But like, I don't know. Can anybody else? It's just, like, this shouldn't even be a conversation, man. We shouldn't be talking about this. We shouldn't be talking. I shouldn't be asking for people's opinion on should every single person bunt when we get into extras. Like, no other team in 2024 does that. You're given a run. The whole point of the Manfred runner, like, the home team has an advantage inherently. Mind-boggling stuff. Mind-boggling. So that's the question I put to you. Where are you at with the extra innings situation? Because the offense might just be that bad. You also have set yourself up horribly for the remainder of this series. You have now burned through 5 relievers in game 1 of a series in which you lost because of your own mistakes, mind you. And that's such a reoccurring theme. We have like 4 or 5 games that we lost 2-1 or 1-0. Okay. Reese Olson starts. Jack Flaherty starts in April. Right. You have 4 or 5 there that if you flip the result on, this team's over 500. You also have a handful of games now that you have lost because of absurd defense, like absurd levels of poor and pathetic defense. It's like, imagine how different if everything else is the same. Torkelson's still struggling. Colt Keith still struggling on the season. Javy Baez still struggling on the season. I mean, pick a player. If every single player's numbers are close to the exact same as they are right now, but you win a couple of games 2-1 instead of losing them 1-0, and you don't just completely error yourself to losses 3 to 5 times this season. It's just frustrating to be. It's right there to not be 2 games under 500, and here we are. This was such a frustrating baseball game. If you can't tell by my mood here on this fine Wednesday, this was such an infuriating baseball game. This is, I don't care, what quote unquote type of like fan you are. I don't care what, how you subscribe to the game of baseball, how you view the game of baseball, how you take in the game of baseball. This is one we just can all hold hands and agree. This sucked. This was just infuriating. They were trying to lose this ball game. Not literally, I hope, but like at every turn, this team was doing something in innings, again, 6 through 10, to actively get in their own way and attribute to a loss. It was mind-boggling. Okay, I'm done talking about it. We're done. Wash your hands clean. You can still win this series, right? If you want to try to be super, super optimistic here, you can win the next 2, and we can all just be like, haha, wasn't that really? No, I'm never going to laugh about this game. If you win the next 2, you blew a chance to sweep. Okay, this was absurd. This was an absurd baseball game. Okay, Jace Young had 2 homers. I think that's worth noting. Also, we're into stuff now, obviously. I think we were actually already. Sounded a lot like things that went wrong, though. Javy Baez goes to the IL with lumbar spine inflammation. Ryan Kreidler gets called up. I tweeted out the GIF, the Joker GIF, where he goes, and here we go. And the reason why was because I think that this is probably where the Tigers are going to start auditioning some other players at shortstop. And I'm not saying that this is like the beginning of the end for Javy. I don't know what the leash is with the organization, but he's on pace to be one of the worst qualified hitters in the history of baseball. Right now, he's got a sub 500 OPS. We're not going to celebrate an injury, right? Obviously, hope he's healthy and whatnot. And he's had back problems for a few years now. So I don't know if that's directly correlated or not. Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic said that Javy was seeing a specialist in Florida, and it looks like the Tigers expect him to possibly be out for longer than just the 10 days on the IL. So my point being, I don't think this is like a phantom IL stint, again, because he cited back problems a lot over the last few seasons. I think he probably is actually hurt. I think that this is, again, where the Tigers are going to start throwing some names out there at shortstop. Kreidler, rough debut, looked completely overmatched at the plate and made an error defensively. Rough, okay? Eddie's Leonard is on the 40-man. I'd imagine maybe sometime down the road they see him. I'm not sure they're sold on his defense at shortstop long-term, but we'll see what happens there. I just, my point is, if Ryan Kreidler does play really well, which like he hasn't at the major league level so far in his career, and he's like sneaky old, so we'll see what happens. But I'm not like saying that he's going to necessarily. He hasn't given us too much to I don't know, believe that. But at one point in 2021, especially, he was hitting really well in the minors, and people were pretty optimistic about Ryan Kreidler. So I think that this is probably the last hurrah for him, for starters, for like long-term being a piece to this puzzle. And I also think that if he is to do well, then the conversation around Javy gets significantly hotter. So that is all stuff to keep in mind here, but it looks like Javy might be out for a prolonged period of time. Okay. You have a game at 6:40 p.m. tonight on Wednesday. It's going to be Reese Olson against Jake Irvin. We will see. We talked about Irvin a little bit on yesterday's show, previewed the type of pitcher that he is, but another guy that's just going to pound the strike zone and has had a really good season, a 3.12 ERA so far on the year. So not a huge strikeout guy necessarily, but definitely a guy that that is not going to beat himself, not going to walk too many hitters, and that you're going to have to earn it against. So let's actually earn a win, because you certainly didn't earn it on Tuesday. You did not deserve to win that game, and the baseball gods made sure that you didn't, because that was absolutely brutal. Okay. Anything else? Anyone see Sasaki's first home run? That kid he's going to be okay. Crazy story. I recommend everybody go read up about that. Really fascinating. Sorry for the weird kind of ADHD moment here at the end of the show, but really fascinating. Dude was like the greatest high school hitter in the history of Japanese baseball. Shattered like by like 30 homers or something. The record for home runs by a high schooler over there. And instead of going into the NPB, actually opened his recruitment and is going to play college baseball. Which means he's going to be in the college baseball circuit for at least 3 years. He's going to Stanford, and his first AB hit a home run. So we'll see. So that it's like practice video, but looked pretty darn good. So we will see how that turns out. But a really cool storyline, I think. If it works out for him, you might see that more often. He's kind of pioneering this. So we'll see. Okay, we got to get out of here. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. Hopefully tomorrow will be a little bit more of an uplifting episode, and we can get a win under our belts. All right? Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.